A plot to kill Jesus.
Oh no.
Oh
And this,
no.
oh no. Matthew 26. This is
Mm-mm.
what he came on the earth for, which is hard to,
Right, this is
this,
his purpose,
yes, although
right?
really
For his
hard.
life.
I mean, I think he knew it.
Right. I mean, he
Wow.
predicted it quite a few times.
Right. And it's in the Old Testament, you can see it too, right? So it's wow. One of the readers from my channel, he shared with me Proverbs 34, but it says, who has ascended into heaven or descended? It's question marks. Who has gathered the wind in his fist? Who has bound the water in a garment? Who has established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is his son's name? If you know.
You know?
Wow. And that is Proverbs 30. So wrote by probably Proverbs 30. Oh no, it's wrote by a guy named, most of the Proverbs are Solomon, but this 30 is the words of Agur, Agur.
Uh,
So a different, but interesting.
what was
It
that?
seems like it's talking about Jesus, doesn't it, in that last verse? But it's
It does, yes.
we have to remember how powerful God is. Wow, the bounds of the sea.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'd be paddling.
Right? We were paddling with
Swimming.
no
Yeah.
oars. Right, no
Yeah.
boat. No nothing.
Wow. All right. So let's see what he's saying here.
Now it came to pass when Jesus had finished all these things, or all these sayings, that he said to his disciples, you know that after 2 days is the Passover, and the Son of Man will be delivered up to be crucified. Then the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders of the people assembled at the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas.
Yeah. There's a few ones that kind of look like that. Caiaphas, Caiaphas, Caiaphas.
Caiaphas. Caiaphas. And plotted to take Jesus by trickery and kill him.
Wow.
And they said, not during the feast, lest there be an uproar among the people. Because I'm sure he
Yeah,
brought a lot of people with him, right?
exactly. And and there was always a lot of people in Jerusalem for Passover. So it's like, do you want to do it when your city is most visited, most populated? I mean, most.
Right.
And
No,
then,
they're bringing the real aspect into it.
right. And then, I mean, it's kind of cool in verse 2. Jesus is warning his disciples again that he's given them a heads up that he's going to be delivered to be crucified. And
Another
then
reminder.
a reminder. And then in verse 3 and 4, you can see, like in a movie, you would see the flashback to the people that are actually doing it, right?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, sorry, Lord.
No, it's
Okay,
true. What do you mean
it's true.
sorry? This is
No,
his
I mean,
story. He's
sorry
telling
that
it.
he had to die for, that we messing up,
True.
but I appreciate it.
Mm.
All right, now, thank you,
We do
Jesus.
appreciate it, yes.
We
We don't
do
want to take it
appreciate.
for granted.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm. Um, yeah, that's not good.
Because otherwise we're stuck in our sin.
But
But now we have freedom. All right, go ahead. So what are we going to say? I'm sorry, verse 5, is it?
we have freedom to do his works.
Yes, freedom to do his work.
I don't think
Exactly.
we just get freedom. I
No,
think that's maybe misinterpreted as well.
right. But you're right. But now we have freedom to serve him and to do what he wants us to do. But you're right.
Right, right.
Bond servant, as Paul said, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The next part is the anointing at Bethany, which I have no
Okay.
reference for.
Okay. And that starts in verse 5.
Yeah,
Oh no, 6. 6.
6.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay.
And when Jesus was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper, a woman came to him
Yep.
having an alabaster flask of very costly fragrant oil, and she poured it on his head as he sat at the table. I poured it on Jesus' head,
Yes. Yes.
but when his disciples saw it, they were indignant, saying, "Why this waste? For the fragrant oil might have been sold for much and given to the poor." Damn, is Jesus not
Mhm.
worth a penny?
I
It's,
know.
it's for the disciples. Look, for the disciples to hold them in such high regard most of the time, and then for them, yeah, it's a waste. But
Right. Then do they see everything in some ways? Do they see the stuff in a worldly financial way and instead of they're not remembering this is Jesus, you know?
right, and then like maybe you just need to take away your air of disbelief when you're looking at whatever you're seeing.
And maybe, like we see things that may not make sense, but in this world, but if we're obeying God, even like when it doesn't seem to make sense. If we know we're obeying, then it's different. The other people might think we're crazy, you know?
It's a different perspective to look at
Yeah.
it through.
Yes.
So, what did Jesus say?
Exactly. What did Jesus say in verse 10?
When Jesus was aware of it, when he smelt it,
I know.
he said to them, "Why do you trouble the woman? Why are you giving her a hard time?
Exactly.
For she has done good work for me. I needed a bath. For you have the poor with you always, but me you do not have always. For in pouring this fragrant oil on my body, she did it for my burial. Ooh.
Mm,
Assuredly, I say to you, wherever this gospel is preached in the whole world, what this woman has done will also be told as a memorial to her."
wow.
Wow.
And here we are reading about it, right?
Yeah,
You
they
know,
were thinking about the worldly things, and Jesus is like, what they
yeah,
should have asked is, why is she pouring the oil on him? Why is
I
nobody
know.
asking her this?
That's true. Why? So, right. Ask the right questions. Why? Why? Why, Jesus, is she pouring it? What does it mean, right?
Right? Ask that
Mm,
question.
maybe that's what we need to ask. Why? Why? Why is this happening?
Right,
What do I need to learn?
right,
What am I doing that I should be doing different? Or is this the way it is supposed to be? You know? So
right.
in John 12, it has the same story, which is a little bit different and it gives a little different insight. But the same story if you want to kind of get a different perspective. A little more detailed, I think, but very similar in what Jesus says at the end, you know? So the beginning of John 12.
Then 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus, who had been dead, whom he had raised from the dead.
Mm.
There they made him a supper, and Martha served. How warmly, and that's just very personal.
I know,
But
because John
Laz,
in a different personal way, doesn't he? John writes and he does write more about Lazarus and Mary and Martha, where in
because when
Matthew
you
I
say
read,
it like that, like Martha, I'm seeing Martha whole, like her whole life and her family and everything. And
yeah, and we see them a whole lot, but not in Matthew. Like, and maybe Matthew just was a different personality. So John, maybe he knew the family more, or it was he's seen that personal aspect the different.
He might have.
Yeah, yeah. But it does feel like you're right there in the suburb with them, doesn't it?
It does. It does. But Lazarus was one of those who sat at the table with him. Oh, so they had dinner with
Because now he had been dead, but now
he's
this has
alive
happened.
now.
He's been right, so he must be so thankful, right? I mean, that gives life a new perspective sometimes, doesn't it? Wow.
Then Mary took a pound of very costly oil of spikenard, anointed the feet of Jesus, wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the oil. Two very different accounts.
I know. I know.
But one of his disciples, Judas
Yeah.
Iscariot, who hasn't even been mentioned yet by fucking Matthew.
Well, so I should have let you read the
I
next
didn't,
verse.
no, I know Judas is about to come up in where we're reading, but understand, like, we have,
We haven't heard too much about him yet. Right.
does Judas come up before this in John?
I don't think so. Not like in a real way. This is just because from what,
I guess I never realized then how late in the story that Judas came up.
yeah. I mean, he
You don't
was
even
there,
hear about him until right before he dies.
right. And you got, I mean, the other disciples didn't know who was going to betray Jesus. It wasn't like Judas was out there being a troublemaker or anything.
But what was he doing?
I think he was the treasurer from what people have said, but I don't know that for sure. Did it say that? I mean, some people say that maybe he was the treasurer in the group, but he was there being a disciple with them all the time with the 12. He was one of the 12.
That's true.
And they didn't know which one. When they sat at the table, they're like, tell us which one is going to betray you. And like it wasn't obvious. It wasn't like everyone pointed at Judas and we know who's going to be it. They didn't seem to know.
Right.
Because
Right. I
even,
know they would have no reason to then. They would have no reason to like single him out and like make an extra
right. So
mention
he
for
was right.
him.
So he was just doing
But like
whatever they
you
were doing.
don't show he doesn't show up anywhere?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, like Peter and John, where you see them all the time, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But then there's other ones we don't see, like Andrew. We know Andrew, the brother of Peter. He was the one that brought Peter, to come and see the Messiah, but then you don't see him during the story. Like quite. But I understand what you're saying. It is interesting, that's for sure. Hmm.
It's just in a way it's frustrating. Just
Is
as
it
a personal frustration, because then it's like
because you don't know?
it's an incomplete story
Yes. But is it good kind of like that in some ways?
thing.
Maybe.
But like not to get entitled, but like is that what we were meant to get?
Say, explain what you're asking me because I'm just not sure. You mean us or Judas? Are we talking about
I
us?
think us
Okay.
is that what we were meant to get. But then again, who am I to say that? We got what we got. So
The story so that we don't know the whole thing. Is that what you mean? Or
yeah.
is it easier to relate when you don't know the whole part?
Well,
Maybe. I don't know.
you would have to think that as soon as Jesus saw Judas, he'd be like, he would know, right?
So Jesus might have known that is true, but he didn't let anyone know. Or it wasn't obvious to the other disciples. It didn't seem to be.
Maybe intentional.
Yeah.
And then, because some of the frustration comes about knowing about the book of Judas.
Oh, okay, okay. I got you. Cause did you read that one?
I haven't read it, and I'm not going to say that I've read it, and I've heard recaps of it.
Okay.
And what the
Okay.
recaps bring up is like there was a dialogue between Jesus and Judas that was like behind the scenes, and it was a fact of like questioning the teachings,
Okay.
but it
Okay.
was questioning like the foundations of the teachings. And I understand why a book like that wouldn't want to be in here.
Hmm.
If it is what it
And
is,
is there right? Would there be any benefit to putting it in?
to confuse people, but who are we to say that? We found the books.
Hmm.
Should, but that's not what happened. But
I mean, I feel like I guess that knowing we know God, I mean, He can keep the ocean from, in its bounds, so He can make sure He knows what books would be included in the Bible
right.
for
Yeah,
us.
and then it's like, well, yeah, at the end of the day, who am I to say that we haven't been given the right thing? Because like this is what we got, and we still have to live our lives, and we're still, supposed to be
Right.
able to achieve the thing that our purpose was to be one with God. It's
Mhm.
like we haven't lost anything.
Right.
We don't lose anything in the end. So maybe I'm just getting frustrated because I'm getting attached to worldly things, and it's like maybe I wanted more of this, but that frustration isn't bounded in anything
Hmm. There.
because we got what we got, and
And it's good.
and it's good.
It is good.
And
Oh,
I found some peace.
you did? Yay.